fourth graders, we are going to read chapter 21 because it's only 2 pages and chapter 22 today. And Cooper is going to be in the room again with us. So if you hear any weird noises over there, that's him. Okay. He can't be still. Chapter 21 is called Souls. At school the next day, Phoebe wore a fixed expression. That means her face was all one way. A sealed, thin smile. That's how I imagine her. It must have been hard for her to maintain that smile because by the time English class came around, her chin was quivering from the strain. She was extremely quiet all day. She didn't speak to anyone but me. And the only thing she said to me was, "Stay at my house tomorrow night." It wasn't a question. It was a command. Mr. Berkway gave us 15-second exercise. As fast as we could without thinking, we were to draw something. He would tell us what we were to draw when everybody was ready. Remember, he said, don't think, just draw. 15 seconds, ready? Draw your soul. Go! We all wasted 5 seconds staring blankly back at him. When we saw that he was serious and was watching the clock, our pencils hit the paper. I wasn't thinking. There wasn't time to even think. Mr. Berkway yelled, "Stop!" Everyone looked up dazed. Then we looked down at our papers and a buzz went around the room. We were surprised at what came out of our pencils. Mr. Berkway zipped around, scooping up the papers. He shuffled them and tacked them on the bulletin board, and he said, "We now have everyone's soul captured." We all crowded around them. The first thing I noticed was that every single person had drawn a simple central shape, like a heart or a circle, square, or a triangle. I thought that was unusual. I mean, no one drew a bus or a spaceship or a cow. They all drew these simple shapes. Next, I noticed that inside each figure was a distinct design, and at first it seemed that everyone's was different. There was a cross, a dark scribble, an eye, a mouth, and a window. And there was one with a teardrop inside, and I thought that must have been Phoebe's. Then Mary Lou said, "Look at that! 2 are exactly the same!" People were saying, "Geez," and "Wow," and "Whose are those?" The duplicate designs were a circle with a large maple leaf in the center. The tips of the leaf touching the sides of the circle. One of the maple leaf circles was Sal's. It was hers. And guess who was the other one? Ben's. So they drew the exact same thing. Chapter 22, Evidence. I spent the night at Phoebe's house, but I could hardly sleep. Phoebe kept saying, "Hear that noise?" And she would jump up to peer out the window in case it was the lunatic returning for the rest of us. Once she saw Mrs. Cadaver in her garage with a flashlight. I must have fallen asleep after that because I awoke to the sound of Phoebe crying in her sleep. When I woke her, she denied it. I was not crying. I most certainly was not. In the morning, Phoebe refused to get up. Her father rushed into the room with 2 ties slung around his neck and his shoes in his hand. "Phoebe, you're late." "I'm sick," she said. "I have a fever and a stomach ache." Ugh. Her father placed his hand on her forehead and looked deep in her eyes and said, "I'm afraid you have to go to school." "I'm sick, honest," she said. "It might be cancer." "Phoebe, I know you're worried, but there's nothing we can do but wait. We have to go on with things. We can't malinger." "We can't what?" Phoebe said. "Malinger, here, look it up." And he tossed the dictionary from her desk and tore down the hall. "My mother is missing, and my father hands me a dictionary," Phoebe said. She looked up the word malinger and read the definition: to pretend to be ill in order to escape duty or work. She slammed the book shut. "I am not malingering." Do some of you sometimes malinger and want to skip school? Well, Prudence was in a frenzy. "Where is my white blouse? Phoebe, have you seen? Oh, I could have sworn that She pulled things out of her closet and she was flinging them on the bed. Phoebe reluctantly got dressed, pulling a wrinkled blouse and skirt from the closet. Downstairs, the kitchen table was bare. No bowls of breakfast? No glass of orange juice or whole wheat toast? Phoebe said. She touched a white sweater hanging on the back of the chair. My mother's favorite white cardigan, she said. She snatched that sweater and she waved it in front of her father. Look at this! Would she leave this behind? Would she? He reached forward and he touched the sleeve, rubbing the fabric between his fingers for a moment. Phoebe, it's an old sweater. Phoebe put it on over her wrinkled blouse. I was uneasy because everything that had happened at Phoebe's that morning reminded me of when my mother left. For weeks, my father and I fumbled around like ducks in a fit. Nothing was where it was supposed to be. The house took on a life of its own, hatching piles of dishes and laundry and newspaper and dust. My father must have said, well, I'll be jiggered 3,000 times. And the chickens were fidgety, and the cows were skittish, and the pigs were sullen and glum, and our dog, Moody Blue, whimpered for hours on end. When my father said that my mother was not coming back, I refused to believe it. I brought all her postcards down from my room and I said, she wrote me all these. She must be coming back. And just like Phoebe, who had waved her mother's sweater in front of her father, I had brought in a chicken from the coop outside. Would Mom leave her favorite chicken? I demanded. She loves this chicken. What I really meant was, how can she not come back to me? She loves me. At school, Phoebe slammed her books on her desk. Beth Ann said, hey, Phoebe, your blouse is a little wrinkled. My mother's away, Phoebe said. Well, I iron my own clothes now, Beth Ann said. And I even iron. To me, Phoebe whispered, I think I'm having a genuine heart attack. I thought about a baby rabbit that our dog, Moody Blue, caught and carried around. She was not actually lunching on the rabbit. She was just playing. But I finally coaxed Moody Blue to drop it. And when I picked up the rabbit, its heart was beating faster than ever. Faster and faster it went, and then all of a sudden, its heart stopped. I took the rabbit to my mother, and she said, it's dead, Salamanca. It can't be dead. It was just alive just a minute ago, I said. I wonder what would happen if all of a sudden Phoebe's heart beat itself out like that rabbit's and she fell down and died right here at school. Her mother would not even know Phoebe was dead. After homeroom, Mary Lou said to Phoebe, did I hear you say your mother's away? Christy and Megan gathered around. Is your mother on a business trip? Christy said, my mother's always going to Paris on business trips. So where's your mother? On a business trip? Phoebe nodded. Well, where did she go? Tokyo? Saudi Arabia? Phoebe said, London. Oh, London. My mother's been there, Christy said. Phoebe turned to me with a puzzled expression on her face. I think that she was surprised at what she had said, but I knew exactly why she had lied. It was easier that way sometimes. I'd done that myself when people would ask me about my mother. Don't worry, Phoebe, I said. She snapped. I'm not worried. I had done that too. Whenever anyone would try to console me about my mother, I nearly would chomp their heads off. I was a complete ornery old donkey. And when my father would say, you must feel terrible, I denied it. I don't, I told him. I don't feel anything at all. But I did feel terrible. I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I was afraid to go to sleep at night. By lunchtime, people were coming at Phoebe from all directions. How long's your mother going to be in London? Mary Lou asked. Is she having tea with the Queen? Tell her to go to Covent Garden, Christy said. My mother just loves Covent Garden. It's Covent Garden, cabbage head, Mary Lou said. It isn't. Yeah, I'm sure it's Covent Garden. After school, we walked home with Ben and Mary Lou. Phoebe wouldn't say a word. What's the matter, Phoebe? Ben asked. Talk. Out of the blue, I said, everyone has his own agenda. Ben tripped over the curb and Mary Lou gave me a peculiar look. I kept hoping that Phoebe's mother would be home, even though the door was locked. I kept hoping. Are you sure you want me to come in? I said, maybe you just want to be alone. Phoebe said, I don't want to be alone. Call your dad and see if you can stay for dinner again. Inside, Phoebe called, Mom! She walked through the house looking at each room. That's it. Phoebe said, I'm going to search for clues, for evidence that the lunatic has been here and has dragged my mother off. I wanted to tell her that she was just fishing in the air and that probably her mother had not been kidnapped, but I knew that Phoebe didn't want to hear it. When my mother did not return, I imagined all sorts of things. Maybe she had cancer and didn't want to tell us and she was just hiding in Idaho. Maybe she got knocked on the head and had amnesia and was wandering around Lewiston, not knowing who she really was, or even thinking that maybe she was somebody else. My father said, she does not have cancer, Sal. She does not have amnesia. Those are fishes in the air. But I didn't believe him. Maybe he was trying to protect her, or me. Phoebe prowled through the house, examining the walls and carpet, searching for blood stains. She found several suspicious spots and unidentifiable hair strands. Phoebe marked the spots with pieces of adhesive tape and collected the hairs in an envelope. Prudence was in a lather when she came home. I made it, she said. I made it. And she was jumping all about. I made cheerleader. When Phoebe reminded her that her mother had been kidnapped, Prudence said, oh, Phoebe, mother wasn't kidnapped. She stopped jumping and looked around the kitchen. So what are we supposed to do for dinner? Phoebe rummaged around the cupboards and Prudence opened the freezer compartment and said, well, look at this. For a terrible moment, I thought she had found a chopped up body parts all in there. Maybe, just maybe, Phoebe was right. Maybe a lunatic had done away with her mother. Oh, I couldn't look. I could hear Prudence moving things around in the freezer. At least she wasn't screaming. There were no body parts in the freezer. Instead, stacked neatly were plastic containers and each had a note attached. Brooklyn Cass, $3.50, 1 hour, Prudence read. And then there was Mac Chi, $3.25, 45 minutes. On and on and on. What's Brooklyn Cass? I said. Phoebe pried open the lid and inside was a green and yellow hardened mass. Broccoli and lentil casserole, she said. When her father came home and was surprised to see dinner on the table, Prudence showed him the freezer contents. He said. At dinner, we all ate quietly. I don't suppose you've heard anything from Mom? Prudence asked her father. Not yet. I think we should call the police, Phoebe said. Phoebe. I'm serious. I found some suspicious spots. Phoebe pointed towards two adhesive taped areas beneath the dining room table. What's that tape doing down there? He asked. Phoebe explained that was the potential blood spots. Blood? Prudence said, and she stopped eating. Phoebe pulled out the envelope and emptied the hair strands on the table. Look, strange hairs, Phoebe explained. Ugh, Prudence said. Mr. Whittlebottom tapped his fork against the knife, and then he stood up and he took Phoebe's arm and said, follow me. He went to the refrigerator, opened the freezer compartment, and indicated the plastic containers. If your mother had been kidnapped by a lunatic, would she have had time to prepare all these meals? Would she have been able to say, excuse me, Mr. Lunatic, while I prepare 10 or 20 meals for my family to eat while I'm kidnapped? Well, you just don't care, Phoebe said. Nobody cares. Everybody has his own idiot agenda. Well, that's not a nice word. I left shortly after dinner, and Mr. Winterbottom was in his study phoning his wife's friend to see if they had any idea of maybe where she had gone. Well, at least, Phoebe said to me, he's doing something, but I still think we should call the police. As I left Phoebe's, the dead leaf crackly voice of Margaret Cadavers called to me from her house next door. Sal, you want to come in? Your father's here. We're having dessert. Come join us. My father appeared behind her. Come on, Sal, he said. Don't be a goose. I am not a goose, I said, and I've already had dessert, and I'm going home to work on my English paper. My father turned to Margaret. I better go on with her, sorry. Margaret didn't say anything. She just stood there as my father retrieved his jacket and joined me. I knew it was mean, but I felt as if I had won a little victory over Margaret Cadaver. On the way home, when Dad asked if Phoebe's mother had come back yet, I said, no. Phoebe thinks a lunatic carried her off. A lunatic? What? Isn't that a bit far-fetched? Well, that's what I thought at first, but you never know, do you? I mean, it could happen. There actually could be a lunatic who, Sal. I was going to explain about the nervous young man and the mysterious messages, but my father would just call me a goose again. Instead, I said, well, how do you know that someone, not exactly a lunatic, but just someone didn't make Mom go to Idaho? Maybe it was blackmail. Sal, your mother went because she wanted to go. Well, we should have stopped her. A person isn't a bird. You can't cage a person. Well, then she shouldn't have gone. If she hadn't gone, Sal, I'm sure she intended to come back. We had reached our house, but we didn't go in, and we sat on the porch steps. Dad said, you can't predict. A person can't foresee. You just never know. He looked away, and I felt miserable right along with him. And I apologized for being ornery and for upsetting him. He put his arm around me, and we sat there together on the porch, two people being completely pitiful and lost. All right. So we're finished. We're going to start chapter 23 next time. See you later. Bye.